Every day, 92 million Oreos roll off the production line. Every second, 1,200 disappear somewhere in the world. You have probably eaten thousands in your lifetime, twisted them apart, scraped the filling, dunked the cookie, without once reading the back of the package. But here is something that might surprise you. It is made with chocolate, but engineered to not taste like it. The white filling has never touched a dairy ingredient. And after 114 years, nobody, not even the company, can explain where the name came from. The answers are all on the package. You have just never had a reason to look. In 1912, Nabisco released a sandwich cookie from a bakery on 9th Avenue in Manhattan, a building now known as Chelsea Market. They called it the Oreo biscuit. Nobody at the company has ever explained where the name came from. They were not the first to try the idea. A cookie called Hydrox had been on American shelves since 1908, but Nabisco made the filling sweeter, the cookie softer, and outspent Hydrox on advertising until nobody remembered who came first. By the 1950s, Hydrox was being called the knockoff of its own invention. The original Oreo recipe used lard in the filling. The cookie was lighter, closer to brown than the jet black you see today. Over the next century, every part of the formula shifted. Lard became partially hydrogenated oil, then vegetable oil. The cocoa processing changed. The filling got sweeter. The packaging shrank from bulk tins to the sleeve on your shelf. From that single Manhattan bakery, Oreo spread to 18 factories across 5 continents, turning out more than 85 flavors in over 100 countries. But through every reformulation, one thing stayed the same. There was never any dairy in the center. After more than a century, nobody has explained the name. The recipe, though, has been hiding in plain sight the whole time. The name is still a mystery. The ingredients are right on the label. The dough starts with sugar, 2 types of cocoa, salt, and canola oil. Both cocos are Dutch processed, soaked in potassium carbonate to push the pH from 5 up to 8. That single treatment turns light brown powder jet black and strips out the sharp, fruity bite of natural cacao. It is why Oreo does not taste like chocolate, even though it is made with cocoa. Roughly 40% flour, 25% dark cocoa, 15% sugar, 15% fat. The sugar stays deliberately low to offset the filling, which is almost pure sweetness. Only all-purpose flour, high-protein flour, would activate too much gluten and make the wafer tough instead of crisp. Water goes in last. The mixture looks like bubbling chocolate soup. Dry ice cools the dough for about 30 minutes so it holds its shape and bakes evenly. A spinning steel cylinder called a rotary mold presses the Oreo pattern into every wafer at 5,000 to 6,000 per hour. The current embossing was designed in 1952 by William Turnier, a man who started in Nabisco's mailroom in 1923, contracted polio at 18 months, dropped out of school, earned his GED at night, and taught himself engineering over 49 years on the job. His design drew from fireweed flowers in his backyard and early medieval manuscripts. His original blueprint, inscribed "Drawn by W.A. Turnier, 1752," still hangs in his son's home. Nabisco has never officially confirmed him as the designer. Wafers move from silicone belt to bare steel for better heat transfer. A tunnel oven runs 300 to 400 feet long at 360 degrees Fahrenheit. 10 to 12 minutes. Industrial fans blast cool air to lock the crunch. Inspectors pull cracked or overbaked wafers off the line by hand. Now the filling: powdered sugar, vegetable oil, high fructose corn syrup, soy lecithin, vanillin. That is it. No milk, no butter, no cream. Under FDA rules, to label something cream, it must contain dairy. Oreo has none, so the package spells it Creme. The filling is whipped at high speed between 68 and 75 degrees. Corn syrup goes in slowly for stretchiness. Vanillin last. Finished wafers fall through angled ramps and self-orient. A centrifugal pump deposits filling at exact height, exact center. Top cookie presses down. 3,000 sandwiches per minute. Cooling tunnel. Mechanical fingers sort bundles of 11. Packaging seals them in. 6 ingredients. 90 minutes. 92 million cookies every single day. Open a tub of Betty Crocker vanilla frosting and read the ingredients. Powdered sugar, palm oil, corn syrup, artificial flavor. Now read the Oreo Creme ingredients. The formulas are functionally the same product, but nobody has ever called Betty Crocker frosting cream. Cool Whip does the same thing from the other direction. It contains no cream either. That is why the label says whipped topping instead of whipped cream. White chocolate contains no cocoa solids, which technically means it is not chocolate at all, but everyone still calls it chocolate. Oreo is not hiding anything. The package clearly spells it cream, but your brain autocorrects to cream because the branding never gave you a reason to look twice. You read what you expected to read. That is not an accident. That is linguistic design. Here is where the story flips. You might look at that ingredient list and see a company cutting corners, swapping cream for sugar and oil. But real dairy would not survive the journey. Cream spoils. Butter separates under pressure. Milk fat breaks down in humid factory air. The vegetable oil blend in Oreo Creme holds its shape from a production line in Virginia to a store shelf in Jakarta for months, without refrigeration. The formula is not a cheap substitute for cream. It is the only formula that works at 92 million cookies a day. And because there is no dairy at all, Oreo is technically vegan. The ingredient everyone assumed was cream turned out to be the reason. The cookie works for more people, not fewer. Now try this. Go to your pantry, pick up the Oreo package and find the word creme. Then check everything else on the shelf. Look for chocolatey instead of chocolate. Look for fudgy instead of fudge. Look for maple flavored instead of maple. Each altered spelling is an FDA signal, a quiet admission that the product does not contain enough of the real ingredient to use the real word. Once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. One honest caveat about that vegan label. The packaging still says may contain milk because the factory shares equipment with dairy products. Fudge-covered Oreos and Cakesters do contain real dairy. The line between vegan and not quite depends on which Oreo you reach for. The filling does not need cream to make 500 billion people reach for it. That is not deception. That is food engineering. And the reason you never noticed about the spelling on the label is the simplest one of all. The branding worked so well that you never had to read it.
Smooth and chocolatey Cadbury Dairy Milk, now with crunchy Oreo.
The next time you reach for one, look at the package before you twist it apart. The answer was never hidden. You just never had a reason to read it. That is the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there is something you would like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.